Dom Flemons, the American Songster. Welcome to eTown. I didn't mention that you were the one of the founding members of the Carolina Chocolate Drops, and Grammy Award-winning, big-time stuff. I remember one time, and actually it was the only time my band Hot Rice played at Bonnaroo, and you guys were on the same stage right before us.
Yeah.
Just killed it. You just did such a good set.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, we had a lot of good years for that.
That was a horrible festival, but it was.
Yes, it was quite awful. There was no awning or covering on that stage, I remember, and it was it's a heat fest over in Manchester during that time.
With a little dust thrown in.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, what a journey. And as I understand it, you grew up in Arizona.
That's right.
Got a head start thinking about folk music and playing on the streets.
Yeah, that's correct.
What kind of songs did you play when you were starting out?
Gosh, I played a whole variety of stuff. Everything from Hank Williams and Jimmy Rogers to Chuck Berry and, I don't know, a lot of doo-wop as well. I used to do a lot of that.
Yeah. And then, am I right that there was was it called the Black Banjo Gathering or something like that?
That's
happened
correct.
In North Carolina?
Yeah, in 2005 over in Appalachian State University.
Yeah.
And it was one of the first events on talking about the African, Black, and Caribbean roots of the banjo. And it was one of the first kind of bringing together of a lot of scholars who had been talking about it for a while. But it was the first time a concerted effort had been brought to do that.
Yeah, and it's a story that's not that well known, and people don't think about it or understand the roots of it. But you've done a great job in sort of raising that story's profile and spreading it around.
Oh, I try my best,
Yeah, well, it's cool. I mean, I think those of us who've been around folk music know the fundamental origins of the banjo coming from Africa, and the idea of finding a gourd and a stick and some strings is not original. That's a old idea.
Yeah.
But this transformation that took place in the Caribbean, and then the migration into the States, and into this country. So
well, and that's one of the things I wanted to do with when taking on the moniker of the American Songster. Is a lot of the remnants of that style sort of made its way over with the guitar songsters of the early blues era, and so that was something that drew me into that story. Yeah. And so when I play like Henry Thomas's material, it's somewhat of a banjo-styled guitar playing, and that was something that I connected when I was at the gathering. So when I met people like Joe Thompson and whatnot, I was able to connect some of this early blues history, like not just Henry Thomas, but Lead Belly and Charlie Patton and a lot of those types of people.
Well, you're also going back farther. I mean, like I mentioned, you're going back before the Civil War, right? You're talking about string band music, black string band music from early 19th century.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, going way back.
Well, listen, and then meanwhile, you got a new record that's this one, Traveling Wildfire, is a different sound for you. It's a little more full band. It's got some country leanings, some Western leanings.
Well, I'd always had touched upon it somewhat in my shows, but on this most recent record, I wanted to really focus on it directly and have some stuff that was just unabashedly country flavored. And then I also wanted to focus on some of my original material because over time, people just didn't know that I had written any songs. And so I had songs that I had had in the hopper for a long time, and then I wrote some new ones for it as well. And so that was something I wanted to showcase and just show a different side of what I've presented.
Records are kind of like babies, where you think about the birth time and then you go back and count when conception happened.
Yeah.
And I'm imagining that this record was conceived somehow during the COVID times.
Oh,
when
yes.
you were sitting around home.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was interesting because one of the things that I ended up doing to try to kind of just keep myself sane was using music and using my own record collection as a way to sort of keep my memories and keep my sanity with everything, was trying to use the memories I had of that music that I've always loved and trying to use that as a way to kind of keep my creative spirit fueled and the fire going, and so this album came out of that.
Yeah. And you got a kid too, right? You got a daughter?
Yeah, I got a little 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she's just made her way into kindergarten.
Wow. Well, that'll keep the COVID shutdown interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Well, listen, I think it's cool that you're combining the history and the education and your own curiosity and your own desire to sort of accumulate these stories and accumulate songs with contemporary songwriting and collaboration and finding new ways to share that information and help people understand how these sounds are connected.
Absolutely. Well, that's one of the things that I've never tried to treat old music as something separate from contemporary music. And so in my mind, I think of it all as good music, you know, and when I get a good song in my mind, it's something that I have to, you know, follow. I have to carry it. I have to take that story as far as it'll take me. And, you know.
It's funny, I grew up sort of in the same way because I was just as inspired by, you know, people like Doc Watson and contemporaneously I was listening to the Beatles and the New Lost City Ramblers and, you know, then Jimi Hendrix or whatever, but it all fit together. Like the New Lost City Ramblers were a pathway for me to find songs and instrumentation from the rural roots of you know, early 20th century music that I never would have bumped into had I not found those guys. But that music was just as contemporary for me as any of the other stuff I was hearing.
Well, and that was something that was wonderful about getting a chance to spend so much time with Mike Seeger during the later years of his life. You know, when I met him, I was in such awe of his music that he was so kind and just said, hey, well, if you want to come up to Lexington, Virginia, you can just come up and visit me. And so, you know, between my touring time with the Chocolate Drops, I'd go up and go to his house. We'd listen to records, talk about you know, tunings, you know, especially with some of the old-timey songs, trying to think about, you know, how I would try to interpret them. He'd talking about how he had interpreted them. And
he was bossy.
Oh, yeah.
He was pretty bossy.
Oh, yeah, he could be.
I had a version of Doc Boggs's Country Blues that I thought was pretty good, and he was like, no, give me that banjo. I'll show you what the real tuning is. This is how he really played it, you know.
Classic.
Yeah. Anyway, we're gonna get back to music, but Dom, again, congratulations, good luck on the new record, and glad you're here. Finally made it to eTown.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Nick.
Welcome back, Dom Flemons.